Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a year or two, but I'm back with another video. This is just going to be a video of my rice and white sauce pois and some sauce that I made for Easter today. So I have white beans. I'm using the northern beans. I'm washing them right here, and be sure to like this video, comment, subscribe if you're new to the channel. So yeah, I'm gonna wash my beans and then I'm going to go ahead and put them in my pot and let them cook. These beans don't take that long to cook, so a good 45 minutes to an hour is good enough. In the meantime, I'm also going to cook my chicken. Now for the chicken, you can let it get color first or like fry it lightly then cook it, but I did it the opposite way. I cooked it first and then I'm going to make it get that nice golden color that we're gonna see towards the end. Now typically I split videos and do each side, you know, in a different video, but I wanted to try something new, do the whole thing all together to see if that would be better, because I usually get a lot of questions, and maybe if I just put everything together, then you guys can, you know, make it all in the same day instead of having to look through my videos to find the different sides that go with a certain dish that y'all like. If y'all like me doing it that way, let me know, so moving forward I'll do it that way. Or if you want me to have it the same way I had it before, where it's not too much for you to watch in one sitting, then I'll do it that way too. So at this point, I'm just adding water to my beans to make sure that they're cooked. You don't want it to burn, because then it just won't taste good. And also, I'm just looking here, checking on the chicken. As you can see, it produces its own juices. That's why I did not add too much water. I just used the remainder of the water that was there and then added in. At this point, my beans are cooked, so I'm gonna let it cool off for a little bit, and then we are going to puree it in our blender. Also, to add, the chicken that I am cooking today is hen, which takes longer to cook. So it took a good hour 20 minutes to cook. It's not the regular chicken, so just wanted to point that out. So I'm draining my beans so I can add them to the blender. I've done sauce pois on my channel multiple times. I've actually done this particular sauce pois before, so if you want a more detailed way of how I do it, I will link that in the description box. I'll do the same thing with the chicken stew I'm making. If you want more detail on how I clean it, how I prep it, what all the seasoning that I use, I will also link that in the description box. And same thing with the white rice. I've done multiple rice on the channel, but if you want a more detailed way of how I did it, I will link all those in the description box. So that's me putting in the blender, pureeing it. And then I'm going to use my other drainer, which is like the siffer, I believe it's what it's called, the one that's a little bit tighter. I'm going to use that to remove the pulp from the beans. Now, as you can see, you see how thick that is? That's my secret of how I make sure my sauce pois comes right all the time. You know how sometimes you can make sauce pois and it's like too light? When you puree the beans, if you put less water and have a thick consistency, then your sauce will just come out, you know, nice and thick. Not too thick, but definitely not light like you see right here. It'll have a nice thick consistency. So that's my little secret. So do with that with what you will. So now that I'm putting it through the other drainer, the little siffer drainer, just to remove the pulp. After that, I'm going to put it on the stove and let it cook some, and then I'm gonna add salt, adobo, and garlic powder. I'm also going to add some fresh thyme just for some good flavors in there. If you want, you can actually add some scotch bonnet in there or habanero pepper, but I chose not to add it in there because I'm going to put it in the stew instead. But yeah, this is what it looks like once I pureed everything. You see how nice it looks. So once you add your coconut milk and everything else, it'll just come together really nicely. And that's how I do all my sauce pois. Whenever I'm pureeing it, I don't put too much of that water, of the beans water. I don't put too much of it, so it could give me that nice consistency. And this is the salt I'm using, Himalayan salt, and some adobo, like I said, and some garlic powder will do. If you want to add different seasoning, you can. Just remember that, you know, when it comes to food, you can really do whatever you want to do with it. Go with your palate and what you like. So I went with what I like. So make sure you guys taste it. As long as it's to the liking that you want, then hey, you good to go. All right, so now I'm just checking in on the chicken again. At this point, it's almost done. So what I'm going to do now is add the coconut milk. I'm using the Thai kitchen coconut milk. I add about a cup, or you could add half a cup. Again, it's completely up to you, or you don't even have to put coconut milk in there at all. But I will tell you, it tastes absolutely amazing with coconut milk in it. So try it out. Let me know what you think. Okay, and here is where I'm adding my garlic powder, and I'll also be adding the thyme. And if you want to put a little bit of pepper in here, now is also the time to add it in, because in about 5 minutes or so this will be good to go. And while I'm waiting for that, I went ahead and started on my rice. I'm just adding olive oil. You don't have to do the rice this way, but this is my preferred method. I'm adding a little bit of onion in here just for flavor. You can add green onion instead. That's typically what I add, but I didn't have any on hand, so I added a little bit of regular onion. Again, this is just for flavor purposes. So at this point, I am looking at my sauce bar one last time because it's done, and I'm getting ready to turn it off. And my onions have also got the color that I'm looking for, so now I'm going to add my water. I'm cooking about 4 cups of rice today, so I added 5 to 5.5 cups of water. It all depends on how fluffy you want your rice. Again, I have a detailed video, several videos on how I do rice, so you can definitely check those out. While I'm waiting on my water, I'm gonna go ahead and chop up my onions and bell peppers for my stew, because I'm getting ready to do the stew next. And while my water is boiling for the rice, I went ahead and washed my rice so I can add it in my water. Be sure to add salt to your rice water too, because you don't want the rice to be bland. Make sure you taste it, make sure it has the enough salt that you're looking for, and proceed to add the rice once you're done washing it. As you can see, the water is boiling. I washed the rice and I'm adding it in there. Once I put my rice in, I'm going to stir it. Make sure that the rice is not clumped up together, because sometimes rice tends to do that, especially from the bottom. So you want to stir it nicely and let it cook. And now we're moving on to the stew. I did put my chicken on the side. I'm using a different pot from the one that I cooked it in. If you guys see that, that's the reason why. I'm going to be adding some vegetable oil, and the reason why I'm not using olive oil is just because I want the chicken to get that color, though the olive oil would do the same. I just think it's better to use vegetable oil. Again, this is a preference thing, so you can use whatever oil you prefer, but I'm going with vegetable oil on this one. And I'm going to add the chicken in there, and like I said, as you can see, it's not really falling apart like a typical chicken would. That's why it's the hen meat that I'm using, and hen is just basically a chicken that's a little bit older. So when the animal is a little bit older, the meat tend to be tougher. It makes it it takes a little bit longer to cook, just like oxtails. If you were to cook oxtails and you notice it's taking forever, it's probably because the cow is a little bit old. And right here, as you can see, my rice is ready to steam, so I put aluminum foil on there. You could use parchment paper too if you want, and I'm covering it and let it cook so I could continue to work on my stew. While I'm waiting on the chicken, I went ahead and took a tablespoon and a half of tomato paste to dissolve in water, and I'm doing that just to elevate the color of my stew. So that's why I did that. It's completely optional, you don't have to do it. So now I'm just flipping through the chicken, make sure each of the sides get the color that I'm looking for. While doing that, because I don't want the pan to burn, because you could see that it's starting to burn a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and get some of the chicken juice that I had laying on the side. I'm going to get just a little bit of it, not a lot. I'm going to add it in there, and I'm doing that just to keep my pan from burning. Again, I like to say that you could have done this in the beginning, then let the chicken cook, but I prefer to do it the opposite way. And now I'm just going to take my chopped up onions and red and green bell peppers, and I'm going to add them in. And I'm doing that for flavor. It's going to taste absolutely delicious with it. I'm also letting those saute along with the chicken as well before I add any liquid to it. Alright, so now I'm going to grab my tomato puree that I had. I'm going to add it in there. I'm not going to stir it yet. I'm just going to add it in, let it boil a little bit, and then I'm going to stir it. And I'm also going to be adding the thyme at this time as well. So now is the time to do that. I think when you add the liquid in, then you add it in and then let it come together so the flavors can have time to cook before we start stirring it up. All right, now I'm grabbing the chicken juice or the chicken broth, whichever one you want to go with, and I'm going to add that in. And I'll also be adding a little bit more water just so I can have more stew in my chicken. I'm going to go ahead and get my habanero pepper. I put a few cloves in there. I don't like to just put the cloves by itself because then you end up chewing it and it's very bitter. So I like to keep track of it by putting it in my habanero pepper. So that's why I did that here. And then I'm going to cover it and let it simmer. And then I'm going to taste it, and I'm going to add a little bit more seasoning because to me I felt like it needed a little bit more, so that's why I'm adding some more in there. Again, go with your preferred taste of what you're trying to achieve, and that's what I did here. And all I did was add some adobo and a little bit of seasoned salt, not too much, just a little bit. And now I'm adding some chicken seasoning on here as well, and I'm going to cover it up again and let it simmer. At this point, guys, the stew is pretty much good to go. I'm only going to add one more thing in there, and that will be it. So what I like to do is add a little bit of butter, like a good tablespoon of butter, and it will tie all the flavors together. Honestly, this is how I get my stew to come out banging every single time. Right when it's about to be done, I add a little bit of butter on there and cover it up and just let it simmer for a little bit more, and then that's pretty much it. So be sure to interact with this video, guys. Comment, let me know what you think. Do you like it? Are you guys happy that I'm back? Or just let me know. I also made a little beet salad to go with this dish. It's my husband's favorite. You can find this video also through my channel. I'll add the link for you if you're interested in that. And this is how it came out. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, subscribe to my channel, give me a like, comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.